Hello people, today I'm going to be giving you a basic tutorial on the World Builder for Company of Heroes 2. For those of you that don't know what the World Builder is, it is basically a map editor in Company of Heroes 2. So, first things first I'm going to show you is how to get inside the builder itself. So, first two things you want to do is find the builder and then open it. Now on my computer it is under Performance or the E drive, under Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, then Company of Heroes 2. Then it's at the very bottom where it says World Builder COH2. Now for other people you might have it on your main drive or main, for instance SSD. Performance E for me is a HHD, but this is my SSD I have. If it's going to be under there, you're going to want to go to Program Files. Your main drive is usually where you're going to have your, in this case, your operating system, your OS on. And so to find it in there, you're going to have to go to Program Files that has the X, the second one. Scroll down to Steam, go to Steam Apps, Common, and then it would be under, obviously, this is alphabeticalized, so it'll be near C. But mine's not in that one, mine is in Performance E. So that's where I have to go to find. Good. Now that we're here, go to the very bottom and we're going to click on World Builder underscore COH2. Click on that and it will load in. You'll have a debug window come up. You got two folders, a debug window, and the World Builder. Next thing you might want to do is you're going to click on File, and you're going to want to click on either one of these two, either new single player or new multiplayer. Today I'm going to be showing you a new multiplayer map. But if you want to do single player, you can. They are different. Click on that. Now we have to figure out where we're going to put the file. In this case, you have to have it in the Scenarios folder in your Company of Heroes 2. To find that, you have to go to the exact same place I showed you before. So in this case, I would go to Performance, I would go to Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, Company of Heroes 2, and then Company of Heroes, or CHO in this case, short for Company of Heroes 2, Data, Scenarios, and here it is. But again, if you're on your SSD or if it's on your main drive, you'd have to go the route of going to Program Files, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Company of Heroes 2. But I don't have it there, so I have to go this route. Once you're in the Scenarios folder, you can then make your map. I can see here I have made two maps currently, a test map and then obviously a new map. So we're going to do another map here. I'm going to call it test 2.0. Oh, that was not what I wanted to do. There we go. Once you've figured out your name for your map, it can be changed later, but just name whatever you name it now. You want to then click Save. Now you're going to have options pop up. It's going to be this little screen that says New Scenario. First thing you're going to see here is you're going to see a thing that says Blank Terrain. Now the other thing up here it says Use Template. Today we're not going to mess with that. We're just going to focus on Blank Terrain. The Blank Terrain option has a few drop downs. You got Terrain Size, Playable Area, and Cell Size. Terrain Size is the size of the terrain that you're going to have. So for today's tutorial, we're going to choose 448. Now the playable area is the actual playable area that you can move your troops around in and do things in. Right now it's set to 64. We're going to make it a little bigger and set it to 288 to give us a little room to move around. We're not going to worry about cell size. Next, you have what's called starting positions. This is helpful. This allows you to get starting positions already in the map. If you choose to select that, you have to also check the box where it says generate starting positions, and then you have options for players. It will be in intervals of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Well, in this case, a 1v1, a 2v2, a 3v3, and a 4v4. Now we're going to choose the 2 players, which is the 1v1. Once you get that done, and you have everything else set up, you then click OK. Once you actually finally load in, you're going to see here that you have these 2 starting positions. Now, if you didn't know what I just said there, I zoomed in and out. To zoom in and out, you use the middle mouse button or the scroll wheel, and that gets you to zoom in and out. To rotate, obviously, you would hold the Alt key. This is the same for when you're playing an actual match in-game. The Alt key is also your rotation key. Now, when you zoom out here, you're going to see it's very hard to see. That's because by default, they add fog. Not sure why, but they do. So to unselect fog, you click on the top here and go to the fog section, click on that, and now it's no longer foggy, and now you can see. Now, some other things we're going to do right away to make it easier for us is we're going to go to overlay, and we're going to add a grid, and then we're going to go to overlay again, and we're going to add toggle show playable area. This allows us to see the area that we can actually play in, the physical area. And you're probably wondering, why do we have other area outside that you can't play in? What's the point? That is there so if you choose, you can still add some things to spruce up the map, to make the map look a little more prettier. And so when you're actually in a game, moving your troops around and stuff, if you go to the edge of the map, you're not just going to see a void. You'll actually see more terrain. And then if you choose to, you can decorate it with whatever you want to. Trees, buildings. You won't be able to use it. It will just be there for looks only. So I want to go over basic overview of things and what to do, mainly up in here. I will also cover a few of these drop downs because there are a few things in here that are not in here. I'm going to start off by going over each of the things and giving a rough overview of what it does. So first of all, you have your single player map, your multiplayer map. This will allow you to open up a file. You can save from this point here. These ones is your cut, copy, and paste. Not going to really mess with those. Copy and pasting can be done differently. Then you have your delete tool. This will allow you to delete things as you choose. Undo and redo. Your selection tool to select multiple things at once. Object placement will allow you to place objects into the game. Objects being buildings, bridges, trees, you name it. We're going to skip all those for now because those aren't really that important for multiplayer games. Then you have your height map editor. Height map allows you to mess with terrain, make it big or small, really just mess with the terrain, make it the way you want it. Then we have a texture. This allows you to place textures on the ground. We'll go over that in a second. This is your splat. This also allows you to place textures, but the unique textures. They're actually certain quote-unquote pictures, if you want to call that, of like maybe roads, things like that, which you can place into the world. Then you have your spleen editor. Spleens are very unique things which allow you to add either objects or textures, like I just said with the splat, into the world, will make it weave and go around and do certain things to add a certain look to it. Your water placement, your ruler, your stamp, your grass editor, ice editor, waypoint placement for waypoints, territory editor, region editor. These I'm not going to go over currently because we don't want to go over this just yet. And then after here, this is where you have all visual stuff. So for instance, visuals for objects. If I unselect objects, it means any objects in the game will not be able to see. So right now, the objects that were there, these are all considered objects, were taken away. So you can't see it. It's good for when you're trying to build, just so you can maybe, if you're trying to see something that's underneath the building and you want to see it easier, click on that. Spleens, we don't have anything in there yet. Splats and spleens either. We don't have anything in spleens. This allows you to do overlay, toggle overlay, meaning that anything in the grid will be taken away. Overlay again. That's a blue one though. Don't need to worry about that. Yeah, these are all more just toggling fog, waypoints. These are all just toggling things, which we're not going to worry about right now. Same with the prefabs. So now we're going to go back to the first thing we're going to mess with here today, which is objects. That is the first thing, and one of the biggest things you're going to be messing with in this builder is the objects. So objects are right there. It's a little red person with the little arms and stuff. And the object tool allows you to place anything, again, from buildings to bridges to trees to even vehicles or even ships if you want to. So the first thing we're going to do is actually we're going to move these first two starting missions, and we're going to move it to their each respected corners of the map. So we're going to go here, we're going to select the whole thing by right-clicking and then dragging, and then we're going to move this over to the corner here and place it down in the corner of the map. And then we're going to move this thing over here to the edge just so we have it there and move this guy up front. Now I'm going to go over what these things are. So this is your actual starting position. This is where you can start. Your first building is going to be here, and from there on out you can do whatever. This is not going to be in game. You won't see us in game. This is just there for the game to know that this is your area. This is your starting position. This, on the other hand, you also won't see in the game, but it is here. And this allows you to bring in anything from tanks to any of the unique units. They'll all come in through here. So next we're going to go over here to the exact thing from this side, over into their corner. And again, configure it to what we want to. Get right there, select you, we can go over here, and you right there. There we go. Now you move the things to the respective corners of the map. Now you have, in this case, Team 2 and Team 1 on opposite ends of the map. Now, as of now, the map can be saved and exported and played. But, obviously, this is a blank slate. There's nothing here except the starting points. So, obviously, you wouldn't want to just make this a map, because this is nothing. You want to build from this. This is where objects and the spleen tool and the height map editor all come into play to make you make the map of your dreams or whatever you're thinking of. So we're going to go over the objects or the things you could do in the object placement. So first of all, you have your default and your current. Default is the default. It means whatever you place in here from the objects, that's what it's going to be. So to place in items, you have to go over here to the objects tab. It will always be shown, obviously. So make sure if it's not shown, it will be right there. Just click on it and it will pop down. And you want to go to this. And you have your three options. You have eBPS, SBPS, and visuals. You're mostly going to be messing with in the eBPS. That's when you have your environment. We can have your buildings. We have objects from cars you can't use, not vehicles you can drive, just cars that look like cars. From things like bunkers to trenches, and so on and so forth. So to get more in depth here, we're going to have art ambient, which is where you're going to have your bridges, your buildings, and your objects. Objects is where you're going to be in a lot too. This has anything from posts to furniture to defenses to chimneys to buildings. And in these, there's going to be more things. Like if you go to defenses, this is where you're going to have your trenches. So you can mess with any kind of trenches you want to have into the game. You can add those in there at your due leisure. To sandbags. Yes, sandbags. You name it, it's going to be in here. Go to terrain. You can do vehicles, as I just said. You can add some vehicles in here. Again, vehicles you can't drive, but these are just vehicles that look like vehicles. This is a car there, and so on and so forth. That's going to be in your art ambient. Now, art nature is going to have all nature-related stuff like animals. I know they're all dead, but yes, you can add in dead cows or you name it. Bushes in there. And then so on and so forth. They're pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, trees are trees, and so on and so forth. Tools are tools. Not going to get into that. That's a little more for single-player maps. And starting point. Again, that's a single map. So, again, the tab you're going to be into the most is going to be in your art ambient. That's where you're going to be into the most, because you're mostly be mixing the objects, i.e. from like small things, from like facing in trenches, you want to have trenches, or in trees. Actually, trees would be nature. But still, in the object section, you'll be anything from vehicles to furniture to all sorts of things. Buildings too. So this is where you're going to be in the most, is in art ambient. You'll be in art nature, probably the second most, going to anything that's natural, from cliffs to trees. And the other ones, like you do have your SPPS. Not the only thing to worry about though. That one is not nothing you're really gonna need for a multiplayer map. Visuals. And visuals is gonna have anything that's gonna be not really there. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if I go to here and go to visuals and go to environments, I have things like objects. Like, well, that's kind of cool. So you can like terrain things. Like, yeah, you can. Muddy water and stuff. But it's all visual. It's not gonna look very pretty, because it's just meant to be visual. It would be like any of the statues and stuff, fountain things. I think it's gonna be too fancy. And yeah, it will be there, but it's all mainly gonna be visuals. The railroads, obviously, you'll have crossing things. That's gonna be there. And yeah, there'll be some welcome boats and stuff. As you can see there. There we go. All together. For the most part, this is going to be your settings. Buildings, for instance, you have things that can look like buildings, like towers and stuff. A cool thing when you're in visuals is go to environment, buildings, obviously too. Again, bridges. These are all just visuals. So things that just look like things, but they aren't actually going to work as a bridge. So, I'm going to go back to our environment here. I'm going to go back to objects. I'm going to go over this on top here. First of all, you have your use random rotation. Actually, no, sorry. First thing you can see here is going to be under the default section is going to be your adjustable and relative to terrain. Relative to terrain means it will put it down relative to the terrain. If the terrain is kind of high, in this scenario, right here, place down objects and then set to relative terrain, it will place down an object based on that. So I go to walls here and get a wall. Let's say I do metal wall, and I do, that's kind of small. Let's do that's kind of small too. Okay, we're going to do a grate. Let's go here actually to stone. There we go. And brick. There we go. So place a wall on here like you would see normally. There we go. It will place it on the ground. See? We go up here and place it. It places it on top like so. Because it's placing it relative to terrain. If I change that and I select adjustable and place it back down, it's obviously going to be there, but it'll give you the option to move it up and down. In this case, with the builder, either way, if you have it set to a relative terrain, you can still move it back and forth. That's just really affecting other things, like we'll get into later on spleens. So, back here to this brick wall. To place items, obviously you go over here and you select the item, make sure you've clicked on it, and then all you gotta do is right click the rice map on. Once you place the item down, again, we've already gone over the adjustable and relative terrain. Next slider here is your world, and not gonna mess with that. The only time you'll ever use anything that has to do with that drop down is when you're messing with the starting positions, or you have troops that you want to assign to a certain player, or any vehicles. But for the most part, you're not going to be messing with that, so don't need to worry about it. Any inanimate objects, like buildings, or in this case, I guess, anything that's not a vehicle, under the vehicles tab, will not need that. It will make sure that it is always selected to world. If it's not selected to world, sometimes it won't actually appear when you load in the game and play it to test it. But another thing you might use is random rotation. Use random rotation is an amazing feature. And you think, wait, for a wall? No, for a wall it's rather annoying and you wouldn't want it for the wall. But for anything that's natural, for instance, Trees is a good example. You want to brush tree, okay? You would normally place it down, and you would place this down. So when that's not on the floor, here we go. You would always place it straight down, and you would always have that rotation. And you can tell, okay? If you can't tell, well, here we go. Let's get one that's dead. Let's get a dead pine, okay? There, or even better, let's get a dead, okay? I mean, so on top, it's just going to place everything the exact same. Yeah, that's something that looks weird, like this one here, this tree here. It's down, it will always be in this rotation. And I thought you put it right by, you're going to see, again, an exact copy. It's the exact same rotation. So, that's where this is handy. You click random rotation, and every time you place it in a tree, it uses a new rotation. So now, the rotation is not the same, as you can clearly see here. It is rotated differently. And so now, when you place on trees, for instance, you want to place on a summer tree, you know, now the trees are placed in rotation, so it actually looks different, and it looks unique. It looks trees. Because trees wouldn't always have the exact same rotation. Now, if you're curious how I was leading that there, if you select multiple items, only I really one at a time too, you can go ahead and click the delete button on your keyboard, and that will allow you to delete item. Alternatively, you could go over here and click delete item as well. So that is user rotation. Next we have is grid. A grid is a cool and unique tool or tool to use. What grid allows you to do is add items back to back to back. So for instance here I have a wall. I can go ahead and put this piece down here, and as I'm snapping it to the grid, it will always snap to the grid and it will go down like so. So we're trying to make a nice clean straight wall. Bam, there you go. On top of that, below the snap to grid, you have this slider here. This allows you to change how far apart these things will place. So if I select 2 here, it will actually be further apart. As you can see, I can't place it any closer. I can, but it's going to be overlapping. If I place it the normal, if I try to place it right next to it, it won't actually place over here. And if I go further away, obviously, it's even more of a distance. And it can keep getting bigger and bigger. But if I go back to 1, obviously, it's back to 1. Next we have current. The difference between current and default is it only affects the current object you have selected. So currently I have this one brick wall selected. So what I can do with that is I can adjust these things here which we first talked about. I can change the assignment to a person, even though I wouldn't for this object. It would never be assigned to a player, it would always be the world. But you could if it was a truck or if it was any vehicle. Really, the main thing you're going to go in here when you have objects selected, the main thing you're going to do is you're going to go to what's called Edit State. Now, Edit State is a very nice tool. What Edit State allows you to do is it allows you to add damage to walls or buildings or anything really, or add health. You have the option, you have set health, you have wall destroy. Set health allows you to set the health. Brand, you put there, you click set health, and you can actually select the health of the object. So in this case, the object now could be destroyed, and you can set its health by double clicking on set health, and you can choose a percentage. Obviously, you can only give it less than what it already has. 1.00 is the highest it can be, and then you need to choose below that. Or you can add wall destroy. Since we have wall selected, it will actually destroy the wall. Now, the wall destroy, that's all you get. It destroys the wall, it's gone, and it allows people to pass through. If you want to have it look realistic in the area, you can set it in the middle of a section, and you can set the wall destroy that section, and it makes it look like it was blown up. Now, if I get back to other objects, because each object is different when you hit Edit State, I want to go over how to move items. For instance, when you click on item, move it around. Obviously, when you have it set to snap to grid, it will snap to a grid. If you unselect that, obviously, you can move it to wherever you want to on the map. Next, to circle an item around, or to have the item spin, as it were, you hold down shift and you click the item and it will spin the item. This is good for getting an item whichever way you want to go. You can do that. Next is copy. Copy is a pretty simple and nice tool to use. What copy does is once you have your item selected and you are over it, you can hold down C and drag the item out, and as long as you're holding down C, you will keep copying the item you have selected. You can also copy more than one item, as you saw over here. I was able to copy this whole section here. I have all selected. I click C, and there I copied the whole section I had selected. Finally, you can rotate items. Every item in the game should be able to be rotated. Now, I have not tested this yet, but I have tested on most items, and most all items can be rotated. Now, a rotated item is pretty simple. All you gotta do is go and hold down the R key and hover over whatever thing you're going to rotate. Now, make sure that you're facing the direction you want to rotate it. If I want to rotate it on the blue axis, I want to be facing the blue axis like this. If I want to rotate it on the red axis, I move my view to the red axis and do it that way. And then to rotate the item, all I gotta do is hold R, hover over it, and then move it. And then you can rotate the item to whatever rotation you want to do. It is up to you. Now, it is key and it is imperative that when you rotate an item, you must make sure that you are not inside the item. For smaller items, that's not. It's hard to do. For bigger items, it is so easy to do. For instance, I was going to go here to buildings. And I was going to pull out a big building of big size. For instance, this 7x3 building, which is pretty long and big. As you can see here, this is a pretty big building. If I was to then choose to rotate said item right now and do it, notice how it's not working. It's not working because instead of rotating the item, I'm actually clicking on the item and moving it around because I'm actually hovering over the item. So if I want to rotate the item or this building, I have to zoom out far enough to where it's no longer over the building, and then hold R and then drag and move. Otherwise, you will always move the building. Again, on small items, it's hard to do because you'd have to be zoomed in pretty close, but on bigger items, it's so easy to do, and it might make you think you can't rotate it, even though you can. Those are all the tools to copy or rotate or just swivel an item. Now we're going to go over editing the state of buildings. So yes, buildings can have damage added to them. You choose a building you want to add damage to at random. So for instance, I place a building here. Okay, good small little house here. Has a few windows, 3 on each side and 1 door on the side. And now I can add damage to the building. So to add damage to the building, you go over here and you go to Edit State. Then you can add. Once you click Add, now you can add damage to a building. Building damage. Click on that. Click OK. And now it's here. Now you notice here it added damage to the building by having a hole in the wall. You know, I think, oh, that's nice. That's cool. Awesome. But we're not done yet. You can actually customize it. For that, you have to double click on a building damage. You have in here it says Spire and Type. So Spire allows you to move the damage to whatever part of the building you want to move it to. By clicking Press Edit, you can first of all change the size to a smaller size by changing the number and pressing Enter, or you can change it to a bigger size by pressing by typing in a bigger number, pressing Enter. Obviously, the bigger it is, the more instruction you'll see. But as you notice here, I moved it around. If I move it around, I can actually choose what part of the building has damage. So here, this side of the building is damaged. I can move it to whatever side I want to, or I can say, you know, hey, let's have the whole building be destroyed and cover the entire building if I choose to. You can also choose to just damage the top by going and hovering over the axis here where you have the green axis and go up, and there you go. You can choose the size. In this case, I can just do that, and now it only has destroyed the roof. Again, you can do whatever you want to. You can also add more damage than just one. I can go over here and say I want to change the size of damage to a little smaller. Let's say we'll move back to 5 damage, hit enter. And then I'm going to move it over here to this corner of the building and move it on this side here. And then I want to add damage on this side of the building. I'm going to click on the building again, click add, make sure it selects building damage, click OK. Over here, select it, edit, I can edit, move it over to the side, and voila, I can add damage, now add damage to this side of the building, and the other side too. And there really isn't any limit. Obviously there is in this case because the building is only so big, but you get the point. Also, the more damage you add to a building, the more it will be damaged in game. So as of now, this building, if I say right, it probably has roughly like maybe 70% left of its health left. Again, the more damage you give it, the more it will be destroyed. If I was to destroy the whole building and have it just be flat like we saw earlier, it would have no health, which means you couldn't go inside the building. But this building actually is still able to be controlled by players if they choose to. Next, we're going to add some other forms of damage. Go here and you can select building damage. You can go over here and select this and you can select the type. You can choose damage accessory. What damage accessory does is it allows you to damage basically the windows of a building. You go here and select this here. You can actually move it at an angle here. You can go over here and see that when we select this building here, click building damage, and then we click OK, we enter it, and then we go ahead and go back to edit state and go into here. Now move around the spire here, and you'll notice that when we move it around in certain areas of the map, it causes damage over here to the glass. You look closely here, see the glass is not destroyed, it's destroyed. And you can see on the bottom too, even though you can't see it very well because there is those blinds or whatever you call them in the way. But it does damage the glass. And this only damages the glass. It does add some what looks like damage to the rooftop things there, but it doesn't actually. That just adds damage like that to the roof, to what's called the dormers. Besides that, it basically just destroys the glass. But if we add this last one into that, and click enter, again, to make sure that it is actually going to add it, you must click enter. Now, click enter, obviously, it'll back you out of this, but oh well. Now on the last one, which is called damage destroy. What this does is, you didn't notice, it takes away the entire section of the dormer. It's just gone. It's not even there anymore. It's no longer existent. Now again, I can move this around, and it can take away the entire window, to where literally there's just nothing's there. All there is that little gray stuff around it, the little brick around it. That's it. You can also destroy doors if you want to. If you want to know a door in a building, you can say, well, let's stop this door out of the way. Then go over here, and now the door is gone. It's up to you. That is it for edit state. Again, each thing does everything. Most things are roughly the same. Granted, if I was to go over here and add in, for instance, cars, if I chose to, go to vehicles and add in civilian vehicles and add it in a little car here. Curious about what edit state does in that state. Obviously, you can add set health. That's about it. Not all things can be damaged in certain ways. Buildings obviously can be damaged. In this case, the car can only add set health. But it's not going to do much. It just basically allow you to destroy it faster. So each thing works differently. Last but not least, we have the option here, which is called Selection Information. In Selection Information, it gives you the option to select items. When you select the item, you can actually see what the item is. That's very nice if you, say, for instance, made a 2v2 map, meaning you selected at the very start when you chose how many players you wanted to add, and you selected 2. But guess what? You want to change it. May say you now want to make it to a 4v4 map, but you don't want to have to go and make a new map and redo all that stuff. So you can actually go here and select the item. Because, for instance, if you're a new player into World Builder, you don't know what's going on, you haven't used it before, and you don't know what this item is, you can go ahead and select the item that you're trying to make again, and look at the name. Now, alternatively, this isn't as useful because you can just copy and paste by holding down C and moving it. So ultimately, that's not going to be useful to you. But if you are curious what the name is for the future, there it is. It has it on the bottom there. It shows you what the name is. Now, so if you select more than one thing, it will have more than one thing selected. It will also have their position as well. Now, earlier I mentioned the player assignment. In this case, if you're wanting to add, say, a 2v2 map where it's 4 players, that's where you'd mess with the player assignment drop down. You'd copy and paste by dragging over here this new area, and then you would make sure that you assign it its new player, so in this case, player 4, and then you drag this to copy and paste it, and make sure you move it to where you want it over here, and then make sure you assign it its number. It will copy and paste the exact item, and I mean exact, I mean exactly. I copy and pasted this, and it was player 2, and guess what? When I copy and paste it, it's player 2. I copy and paste this one, it will copy and paste player 4. So you have to make sure you change it to whatever player you're trying to assign it to. So that is the building, bridge, markers, everything. That is object placement. The last thing I'm going to show you, and it is key, is gameplay. So there's a gameplay section in here. It is underneath EBPS under gameplay. Gameplay will add things that will help the game and will make the game what it is. As you know, in Camping Heroes 2 multiplayer map, you have areas that are territory points. You have munitions points. You have victory points. This is where you'll add those in. So if you're going to add default territory points, you want to go under here and you want to scroll down to where it says territory point, click on that and place it into the game. I will place it in territory point, which is this thing right here, and you can move it to wherever you want to on the map, and that is now a territory point. Again, you can also add munitions points, you can add fuel points, you can also add victory points as well. Now, we're going to add here 3 territory points, and I'm going to show you how to make sure the territory points are actually added into the game. Because you can't just place these things down and call it done. Once you place down your territory points or your munitions points, whichever ones you want to do, you then need to go over to another tab, which is way over here, and it's called TER, Territory Editor. Once you're here, you'll be able to see this blue and orange, or not orange, sorry, blue and green side. Right now is a straight line down the middle. That's because right now we only have 2 sides. We have player 1 or player 2, whichever one is which. I can't remember. So, player 1 here, this is their blue side. Right now, player 1 has all this area to build in. They can literally build in this entire area because we haven't added any territory points yet. And same with green, they can build in this entire area. Right now, there are no territory points in the game, which means that if you were to play the game right now, which you can play it as is, you would have no territory points. But right now, I've added territory points into the game. Think, okay, so we're good, right? We can play the game, we're good to go. These will be territory points. Not really. First of all, if you tried to save the game as is, it will give you an error message. If I go over here and click on save, it will say error. More than one sector creator can be found on sectors 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So this is sectors 1 and 2, or vice versa. I'm not sure which one's which, but the point is, you count up here, there is 1, 2, 3. So we know that there is 1, 2, 3. So we know that this here is sector 1, and there's only 3 here, and so that is sector 2. So, this is giving me errors because I haven't done an important thing when adding in territories. What's nice though is it does give you and tells you if something is wrong, if the map is in a place where it can't be technically be played, it won't work properly, it tells you, it says in map setup errors what's wrong, and that's when you gotta fix it. So simply enough to fix it, all you gotta do is go over here. It'll tell you the error, all stuff. Click OK, just go through all that stuff. You want to go over to the territory section, and the first button here says calculate. Click on that, and now has calculated the territories and given you the calculations based on where these markers were and roughly given out a good area. So now you have each of these zones now. They all have their own new colors. And now when you capture these zones, this is now the zone which you're going to take over. And so now the buildable area for, let's say, player 1 here is only yay big, and player 2 is only yay big now, because I've added in more zones. But you can't just add in the zones, you have to calculate. Now, I'm going to go back to objects here. And I'm going to go back to overlay, and we're going to do grid. So, as objects, you have territory points, you've added into the game. Now the game is even more playable. Now the game is basically good, right? You have territory points, you've had your missions points, you have your regular points. Now you play it. Obviously, you wouldn't. It's still basically a blank slate. There's nothing there. It's a flat world. You wouldn't want to play it like this, because who would? I mean, it's kind of boring. So you're not going to. So we're now going to go into other things. You've already figured out how to place objects, to add damage to objects, to place numerous other things into the game. Real quick, I will go over races. Races allow you to add in items. Like, for instance, you go to races, you have REF, which is Americans, British, German, Soviet, and West German. You choose one of these things. We choose Americans here. You can choose some things from buildings. This is your actual buildings. To soldiers, you can actually place soldiers on the ground. You want to place a lieutenant, you can do that if you want to. You can place a lieutenant on the ground, and he will actually be placed on the ground for you to use, like so. Or you can place in tanks, like vehicles. And this is one of the places, again, where you actually would, in a sense, want to have that changed. If you have it set the world, that means anyone will be able to grab the tank and take it for their own. But if you choose a player, assign it to a player, then it will be assigned player. So if I assign player 1, then this is now player 1's tank. And so when he spawns in the game, he'll actually have a tank already under his control. Now, obviously, for a multiplayer game, you wouldn't want to do that unless you're trying to make some sort of crazy, like, here's all the guys, you have them right away, fight me, that kind of thing. For most maps you're going to create, you wouldn't want to do this, so you wouldn't have this in the game.